Is Alexa Bliss frustrated with WWE? Welcome to the WrestleTalk podcast SmackDown Review Edition. I am Chopper P. Quinnell. I'm joined by Andy Datson. And yesterday we're going to be talking about last night's episode of SmackDown. But in particular, we're going to be talking about Alexa Bliss to start off with, because she had a segment on this week's show, which was hyped on social media. It was a moment of bliss with a special mystery guest that was supposedly going to set SmackDown abuzz with the reveal of who the mystery person was. So people started speculating about, who could this mystery person possibly be? Some people were expecting, there's been rumors of an Evolution 2 coming soon. Some people were saying it could be Stephanie McMahon to come out and announce Evolution 2 and all that stuff. Or it could be, a big return of, Ronda Rousey. Or it could be, maybe Becky Lynch comes back to offer an update on her pregnancy or whatever it may be. And it was Asuka. Which was fine. Yeah. It was fine. I like Asuka. She's good, but it was just a bit anticlimactic after the hype. I think.
Well, I'm glad it wasn't Becky Lynch because she shouldn't be going outside during pandemic.
That is correct.
And obviously, Stephanie McMahon's far too important to go to the performance center during a pandemic. I don't know. I don't know what everyone was expecting really. I can't see them just throwing this together on a random Friday night SmackDown. But yeah, no, it was a perfectly acceptable surprise to see Asuka, I think, and it kind of it builds Sunday, so
yeah,
can't
for
complain.
Sure. I mean, generally, like what it led into. I mean, I personally was normally I try not to get my expectations up when it says, "Oh, it's a special mystery person." But I think on this occasion, because it's just been there's been a lot of stuff. It was 5-year anniversary of the women's Evolution, and there was talks of Evolution 2 coming soon and all that stuff. For once, I was like, maybe it's something this time.
5-year anniversary would suggest that it's still happening.
Yeah,
and but it's a lot. I saw a lot of people tweeting last week saying, "Yeah, it kind of ended last week though when you made them all do a karaoke segment."
Yeah. So yeah, it was a nice 5-year run, guys. But sorry for now. But yeah, the segment itself was fine. It was a bit off. Moment of Bliss segments tend to be a little bit weird in and of themselves, just because Alexa, it seems like they give her a load of material and just say like, go out there and be funny, riff and all that stuff. And Nikki Cross is wacky, and you need to be kind of like the straight person in that and just be like, Nikki, calm down. Let's talk about something to our guests and whatever. And she doesn't ever seem super comfortable in that role. But in particular this week, she seemed to just be like, there was no like light behind the eyes at all during when she was doing her introductory bits with Nikki. It was very, very odd. I noticed it when I was watching it, and then I saw afterwards as well. There was a tweet that we'll get into in a little bit, which kind of explained a little bit. But it's a bit weird. It didn't sit right with me at all when she was talking on the segment.
No, she when I was watching it, I just thought, God, Alexa, you look dead behind the eyes. It looked like she was just sick of doing this every week. When she comes out and goes, "Oh, we're gonna have another guest on." The guest comes out and everyone's a fight. Then Nikki says something wacky because she's wacky and she's from Scotland. And Alexa has to go, "Oh, girl, come on, girl. Oh, what a girl you are, girl. Oh, have you had your coffee, girl? I like coffee, girl, because I'm a girl. That's basically currently Alexa's gimmick. And even in the beatdown, even in the match that came from this segment, she was like on the sideline, and during the kind of beatdown just beforehand, she was sort of whatever. I really like Alexa Bliss. I think she's a great character, and I think she can be really funny and she can be really good in the ring, but it just feels like she's bored at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And they had the introductory bits where she was hyping up her mystery guest. Nikki Cross was under the impression that it was her. She cut this kind of like fiery babyface promo, being like, "I'm going to beat Bayley. I'm going to beat SmackDown Women's Champion." And Alexa on the side being like, "It's not you, Nikki."
Wait, what? It's not?
It's not Nikki. Speaking of, I think this is probably the earliest we've ever done this. It's time for the SmackDown highlight of the week, ladies and gents. Boom. There it is. Straight away. We're getting straight into it today because at this exact moment, on a moment of bliss, when Alexa turned to Nikki and just said, "Nikki, you're not my special guest. someone in the crowd really didn't like that, much like 2 weeks ago when someone really didn't like AJ Styles, which I'll replay for you now. 2 weeks ago, someone really doesn't like AJ. But in this one, someone really didn't like the fact that Nikki Cross wasn't the special guest.
You are not my special mystery guest tonight.
Are you nuts?
Are you nuts?
Are you nuts? I love that. It really tickled me. That was so funny. Weirdly, that's been edited out of the YouTube version. Don't know why. Just has been.
Yeah. Well, I guess someone thought, well, they're not nuts. Of course, it was Asuka. I don't know. I just feel like you should keep that in it. It just adds a bit of like personality to the crowd.
It's like when you hear the odd crowd member chant out something, or like
something so loudly that everyone just starts laughing. Yeah,
exactly. Or like an impromptu crowd chant that starts to catch on. It's like it gives people a bit of life. It gives something the people to kind of play off a little bit more. So then it was revealed that it was in fact, it was Bayley and Banks that came out and interrupted before the special guest came out. And at this point, I thought, so there isn't a special guest. It was just to get Bayley and Banks there, and they just wanted to pop a rating. But it wasn't the case. They did have a special guest, and it was Asuka. Bayley and Banks did their usual heel stuff, said they're going to be all the champs after Extreme Rules, going to hold all the gold. They're the greatest. And then Alexa said, you didn't let me finish announcing who my special guest was. Out comes Asuka. They all get into a fight, and it leads to Nikki Cross and Asuka versus Bayley and Banks with Alexa at ringside. And normally I'm all for those kind of, before the pay-per-view, you have your champions and your challengers kind of facing off in a tag match. I really like those tag matches that they normally do. This one, I felt like it didn't really click for me, for whatever reason. Maybe it's just because it feels like we've seen Nikki Cross wrestle Bayley and Banks forever. It feels like it's been a good few months now where it's just been Nikki and Alexa and Bayley and Banks on SmackDown. So I don't know whether it was that kind of got a bit old, or maybe it's because, they've been building the Asuka stuff with Bayley and Banks on Raw as well. So it didn't feel too different to that. It's just something didn't quite work for me here, but it was a good concept.
Well, what it reminded me of is, while I do like the character of Bayley Two Belts, and I like the idea that Sasha becomes Bayley Two Belts.
Bayley DOS straps. Thank you.
Sorry, DOS straps. It did remind me that the women's tag belts are currently just being used as props. Because they're not, no one's going for them. No one cares about them right now. I mean, no one ever did care about them, but especially now. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it'll if Banks were to win, then they could start like defending. They were like, oh yeah, we'll defend our titles, the women's tag titles, because they want to hold on to their being heels. They want to hold on to their single titles for as long as possible. But yeah, I just went, oh yeah, they are also SmackDown women's. They are also women's tag champions, and no one wants those.
I mean, Alexa and Nikki did challenge for them, I think, a couple weeks ago, on SmackDown.
Yeah, but that was more of an automatic rematch clause, which no longer exists.
Yeah. But regardless, someone didn't quite click for me for whatever reason. But then I thought it was a fine match that had a good finish, I thought. It was, again, a Bayley classic. Some distraction on the outside. Sasha went for a Meteora onto Asuka on the outside. She missed. Asuka threw Banks into the plexiglass. Bayley dropkick Asuka through the ropes. Cross went for her neck breaker, which got countered by Bayley into a roll-up, using the ropes illegal pin to pick up the victory, which is a Bayley staple at this point, to use the ropes and use a roll-up for the victory, which was fine. Yes. I thought it furthered. There was something else later on in the night as well that really kind of furthered the story that I'm more invested in now. But then after the show, Alexa Bliss did a tweet, which really kind of put everything into perspective, where she just said 3 words, which was just frustrated beyond belief. And for me, I think that obviously this is referring to what she's doing in WWE right now, but I don't think it's a case of I don't have a title shot, I'm mad. Because she is, a very highly decorated women's wrestler. She's held multiple women's championships and all that stuff. I think she might just be frustrated with the same stuff all the time, because it is just a moment of bliss, and the Nikki Cross stuff doesn't really seem to be going anywhere. She's just kind of stagnant right now. And it wouldn't surprise me, this is pure speculation on my part, But it wouldn't surprise me if she's actively kind of pitching stuff to do, and the suggestions getting shut down because we need you out there for a moment of bliss.
No, you're the talk show host. That's your job now. You're the pretty one who sits with the crazy one, who interviews people. Yeah, it's a shame because obviously she was out for so long with that, like the triple concussion or whatever she had. So to bring her back and then not use her properly is sort of extra frustrating, like she pointed out. I mean, I'm sure she was looking forward to kind of getting back in the ring, getting in some proper storylines, and that just sort of it hasn't happened. I mean, she has helped elevate Nikki Cross because I don't think Nikki Cross would have had the same sort of success without Alexa Bliss, because people really like Alexa. So in that sense, she's helped, but sort of, I think personally, she must be just getting a bit tired of just doing the same thing every week, like turning up and going, "Oh, so what am I doing this week?" And it's like, well, obviously a moment of bliss. What do you think you were doing this week?
Yeah, it seems like a touch of the Dean Ambroses where, when he was there and he'd turn up and he'd be like, "What am I doing this week?" He'd be like, "Oh, another wacky segment. Great." Yeah. It feels like that kind of a similar thing for Alexa, just turning up and being like, "Oh, I'm doing a moment of bliss." And occasionally I might get to wrestle. And when I do, I'm probably going to be putting over Nikki and her thing and just being Nikki's best friend. And that's it. Yeah. Also, something I forgot to mention at the start of it, they introduced Nikki Cross. They said, "Welcome to a moment of bliss with Alexa Bliss and her enthusiastic best friend, Nikki Cross."
So enthusiastic is one of those words, like it's the same when you call someone a character. What you mean is they're just a massive dickhead. Like you go, "Oh, so what's he like?" And you're like, "Oh, he's a bit of a character." And you're like, "Okay, well, I don't want to speak to him now." Yeah. And it's like saying, "Well, yeah, she's pretty enthusiastic. That means she's incredibly annoying." Which I don't think Nikki is incredibly annoying. But it's just one of those things. It just feels like that's not how you put over a number one contender.
Exactly. Number one contender to the SmackDown Women's Championship, enthusiastic Nikki Cross. It's just a bit weird, that one. But something I really did like later on that really furthered this feud was a backstage segment. Bayley and Banks were celebrating, being like, "We're heels, we're the best, we're going to win all the titles, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. We're going to hold all the gold, we're the best. Lol, 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 lol." And then it cuts to Alexa and Nikki, who are watching them on like a monitor. And then something really weird happened, which was some really great character work from Nikki Cross. And it really kind of put over what she's fighting for. Really wish they'd done this earlier in the feud, but hey-ho. And she was saying, like, "Look, I keep losing all the time. I'm letting down people back at home in Scotland, my family. They're watching every week, and I just keep losing. I don't know whether I can beat Bayley anymore." And Alexa's like, "Look, I know you can do it." And Nikki was like, "Hey, Alexa, look, I love you to bits. You know that, but you get loads more opportunities than I do. This is like my one chance that I've got to get this title, and I don't know if I can do it anymore. I don't know what's going to happen." And then she hears Bayley and Banks laughing in the corridor, and she just kind of goes crazy and just goes straight after Bayley and just starts, wailing into her. I thought it was really, really effective, and it made me invested in the babyface character of Nikki Cross. I just wish they'd done this earlier in the story and then built off it, rather than as a last minute, like, "Oh, and also she's got this really cool character trait." Yeah.
No, it was a really nice change of tone from what we get normally with those two, which is, "Oh, you're Scottish and crazy," to actually, "Do you know what? No, I'm an actual person here, and this is my opportunity. And if I don't win here, I may not get another one for a very long time."
Yeah.
But then again, she was like, "Oh, but actually, I'm just still pretty wacky."
I think there was another side to it. Instead of being like, "Oh, I'm just wacky, I'm going to go whoa, crazy," it felt like to me there was some really like pent up aggression that when she went after Bayley and attacked, it wasn't just like wacky Nikki Cross. It was like, "No, I'm actually kind of pissed off now. I really need to win this title. Stop laughing in my face. This is my one chance I've got."
Did you sort of think that possibly, because obviously she was going, "Well, do you know what, Alexa? No, because you get all these opportunities. I don't get all these opportunities." So do you think they're sowing seeds for a Big E heel turn?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Big E heel turn confirmed. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that there's possibilities, I think, across the SmackDown roster for several acts. Across the SmackDown roster for several acts to implode. Whether, they've completely dropped the hacker storyline, it seems, which is unfortunate.
No, it culminated this week. Did you not see, like, Bill Gates, Barack Obama, they were all hacked?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know whether that was supposed to play into it, but there's a lot of seeds still being sown of potential dissension with people. I don't know whether they're waiting for the hacker storyline until, fans come back or whatever it may be. But yeah, it just seems like they've still got lots of plates spinning of teams being kind of a little bit rocky with, like, Miz and Morrison in the show, where Morrison was like, I don't really want to face Braun, but what's really cool if someone steps in for them when they don't want to do it. And Miz was like, yeah, anyway. And then, like, there's a little bit of tension there. There was, as we mentioned, the Bliss and Cross stuff, obviously Bayley and Banks. There's a lot of, like, tag teams that could split. So yeah, but I really liked this character from Nikki Cross. Like you said, it was really nice to see a human rather than just the character. It felt very real, and it actually made me invested in their match. I'm curious because I want Bayley to win this match, but I want to see what happens to Nikki when she loses. That's what I'm curious to see, how it's going to affect her character going forward. So yeah, this made me really invested to see the match tomorrow, which is really what it's all about at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that was really effective. But now we should talk about the rest of the show. So the show opened up with quite a different way to start the show off, where everyone kind of got a little promo time. They had a little montage of basically everyone that's going to be on the show, except Lacey Evans and Naomi.
Not quite everyone.
Not quite everyone, but not Lacey Evans and Naomi, but basically everyone else that was going to be on the show. They each had like a little promo segment, and AJ Styles would be like, I'm going to beat Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle saying, I'm going to beat AJ Styles. John Morrison said, I'm terrified to face Braun Strowman. And Braun was like, and New Day was saying we're great. Cesaro and Nakamura saying we're going to beat them and we're going to pick the stipulation for the Extreme Rules match. I quite like this. I thought it gave them all a bit of promo time, which is always good to put over characters. No one really overstayed their welcome, and it felt different. It felt like a different way to start the show, which is always an interesting way to go.
Yep, absolutely. No, it was a really nice sort of. It was unexpected, and to be honest, at this point, I'm just happy to be surprised.
Yes, exactly. And it's better than what they did last week, which is always, that's
absolutely,
good start.
Week by week. If they'd started the show with everyone singing karaoke, that would have been worse.
Yes, exactly.
But instead, we got that, and then we got Big E versus Cesaro.
Yes. Something I will say as well is Matt Riddle saying, what does AJ stand for? Arrogant jackass? I was like,
nice, bro.
It's not the best line, but that's fine. It's fine. I'll take my wins where I can get them. It was a good start. But yes, like you said, started off with Cesaro versus Big E, with the winner picking the stipulation Extreme Rules between a tables match and a steel cage match. I wonder which one they're going to pick.
Yeah. Which one do you reckon, Pete?
They've been building the whole feud around table spots and building to a tables match. And then they said that there was like a poll or something, and it was too close to call between a tables match and a steel cage.
I'd have loved it if they'd gone. We're actually just going to do a steel cage match.
Steel cage,
we'd prefer that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But I thought this match was pretty good. Nothing wrong with it at all. I really like Cesaro, really like Big E. His diving corkscrew uppercut is still one of my favorite moves in wrestling because it's just so pretty. I love it so much. And the finisher, I thought, made people look smart for once. It made the heels look smart, which is great. Because Big E had Cesaro up for a big ending. Cesaro was trying to counter it, and as he came off, the referee had to kind of duck out the way of Cesaro's legs spinning off of Big E. And in that second, Nakamura jumped up and nailed Big E with a kick to the side of the head after taking out Kingston previously, which allowed Cesaro to hit the neutralizer for the win, which I thought was great. It made them look smart, and it made Nakamura be like, oh, I've got an opportunity here. Bang, here you go. And then just immediately get out of the way again. It made them look pretty well in sync and like a good tag team.
It's made them look like an actual threat, which is nice because it's not like they've just like, oh, they've won this one before the pay-per-view. They've won consistently against Kingston and Big E. So, yeah, I still don't think they're going to win, somehow because they've sort of been setting up all the tables, and it just feels a bit too sudden. I mean, I know the SmackDown tag belts is basically a hot potato, and they will just throw them on whoever they fancy at the time. But because they've been building them so strong, I feel like they're going to lose. Also, where's Xavier Woods? He's supposed to be back around now.
Yes.
So could this be the
Biggie
return
Hilltown confirmed?
Yeah. So that Xavier can come back and save Kofi.
Yeah, exactly.
So could like, I don't know, let's say they put Nakamura through a table, they win, then they start getting beat down on, and then out comes Woods for the save. How about that?
Sounds pretty good to me, honestly. I don't know of the rules of the match necessarily. I don't know whether it's going to be like elimination style. If one person gets put through a table, does everyone lose, or is it going to be that person's eliminated?
Is that a thing?
It's been a thing. I'm fairly certain beforehand. I'm hoping that's the way it goes anyway, because I think that's more fun. But yeah, I'm still really excited for the match regardless. I think it could potentially steal the show if they want it to.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like it if it gets some time. I really enjoyed the fact that, Cesaro picks up the win, and then they go to get a table out to repeat the spot, and the commentary's like, are they going to pick tables or a steel cage? It's like, I wonder. I really wonder what they're going to pick.
Which of the commentators from Yorkshire? Sorry,
I don't know.
I can't pick table or steel cage. I don't know, Michael.
And then they had the goal to do quite a long backstage segment with Cesaro and Nakamura being like, we really could pick a steel cage. I like the sound of a steel cage, but then again, I don't really like the sound of Biggie jarring about it. So what I really like was putting them through a table, so you know what it's going to be. A tables match. So
because if it was a steel cage, it would have to be a tornado tag match, because you can barely stand on the apron in a tag in a steel cage.
Yeah. It was really cool. Honestly, I'm really excited for this match. I hope that Cesaro and Nakamura win. I want to see them as tag champs, honestly. And I think New Day are doing absolutely nothing with the tag belts right now. So to put them on a team that could potentially do something would be great. And maybe they could have some other challenges. Maybe push Lucha House Party, because they're pretty good. Give them a proper title shot and a push. That'd be cool. But
I hope they bring back everyone but Jackson Riker as well from Forgotten Sons, because that's a real shame for Cutler and his mate
Blake.
Wesley
Blake.
Yeah.
God. Anyway,
hope they bring them back.
Yeah, me too, because they're actually pretty good. I quite like them. Bar Riker. Baron Corbin was backstage cutting a promo, and he says that Riddle is bad, and I think it was Kayla Braxton who was doing the interviewing for this one. And she said, so Riddle's win in his debut match means nothing. And honestly, I'm quite liking the interviewers having a little bit more personality. We've had Sarah Schreiber last week, when AJ was just like, who has Riddle ever beat? And the interviewer just goes, you in his debut week. It was a rhetorical question. I like them kind of coming back to the wrestlers a bit more. And Kayla Braxton just be like, what? So you're saying that Matt Riddle's win in his debut week means nothing? And Corbin was like, hey, shut up.
While I give myself, just going back to the, to sort of for Baron Corbin, while I give myself credit for predicting the tables match a few weeks ago, I give you credit, Pete, for predicting Baron Corbin's actions later in the night.
Well, I was half right.
Yes,
I wasn't completely right. Which, you know what? Again, I'll take the win for that one. But we'll talk about that later. Yeah, he basically just says Riddle is bad. Great. And then we had the Moment of Bliss segment that we've already spoken about, and the tag match. We then had a Firefly Funhouse, which wasn't really a Firefly Funhouse. It was just a promo. But it was old school Bray Wyatt from the swamp in a classically brilliant Bray Wyatt promo, just saying, I need to destroy the monster that I've created, throwing in all these clips from their time in the Wyatt family together, and saying that, Strowman needs to come home, and when he set foot on this hallowed ground and all that stuff. That he said.
The kind of Bray promo, which is in the Yeah,
that was pretty good. It does actually make me quite excited for the Swamp Fight, honestly. And with the stuff that came afterwards as well, I'm actually quite looking forward to it. Weirdly, a little note that I've got out there. Here's a prediction for you. In all the video clips that they threw over this promo, were all clips of Bray Wyatt, Braun Strowman, and Eric Rowan. No Luke Harper, but Eric Rowan was included.
So, I mean, Eric Rowan's non-compete clause did expire this week. And from what I understand, the match was recorded yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So it would still have been expired. They may well have gone, hey, do you want an extra day's work? I absolutely wouldn't be surprised, but technically it has expired.
Yes,
so he is no longer under contract.
Mm-hmm. Unless he's re-signed and we just don't know about it.
Yes.
But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Eric Rowan show up in the Swamp Fight, even as a little cameo, to just be like, if there's some sort of, weird
just
psychological segment.
Backstroking through the swamp at the back. Hello!
Perfect, yeah. Even if it's some sort of psychological weird memory thing from Braun, and then it cuts to like Eric Rowan just comes in, just being like, run, or whatever, and then he just leaves. Whatever, that's fine. I could totally see that happening. But then, immediately after that, quite like what came next was Braun Strowman facing John Morrison. And before the show, John Morrison was putting over how terrified he is to face Braun. Braun came out onto the stage and cut a very fiery promo, which it was very strange. He did cut it towards Morrison because he didn't actually say anything to Morrison. It was just about the Swamp Fight. But he was just saying, I need to go back to the swamp to destroy Bray Wyatt before he becomes the Fiend, because the Fiend is an amalgamation of all the bad choices I've made in my life, and I can't let that happen, so I need to go back home and I need to destroy Bray Wyatt. He was basically shouting this whole thing, the whole promo, then kind of threw the mic to the side, went into the ring. The only thing I don't like is that he squashed Morrison in a matter of about a minute, which
especially
great.
Just a week after Morrison had such a good match with Matt Riddle, because then it just makes Matt Riddle look like a chump for taking so long to beat Morrison. Yeah. And if you want to push Matt Riddle as a potential Universal title challenger, don't give the champion the same opponent that he just sort of struggled to beat.
Yeah, and I half understand it, because it would be super weird if there was just some enhancement talent that was facing Braun, because that he's a Universal champion. So I get you've got to have someone, but I felt like there could have been someone better than John Morrison, who like you said, had such a great match with Matt Riddle last week.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I did like though, aside from the fact it was John Morrison, Braun's offense in this match was really, really good. I thought he looked super intimidating. He was absolutely annihilating Morrison. And the whole time he was doing like a maniacal laugh. He even whacked out the old black sheep triangle choke hold thing that used to be his finisher when he first debuted in the Wyatt family. And the whole time he was just being super aggressive, super like intimidating and beating him down. And then, did that chokehold, power slammed him, pinned him, then picked up the mic and did in his super duper deep, intimidating voice, just saying like, Bray Wyatt, I hope you're watching. I'm coming home. I was like, I want to see that match now. So good job, WWE.
It's going to be a lot of It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Totally. Yeah. I'm super into it now. And then Morrison got stretchered out, and I was like, wait, what? He didn't take any more offense than a jobber normally takes for their, normal enhancement matches. But Morrison got, the stretcher came out. He walked out under his own power, but the stretcher came out to take him out. I was like, what is going on? But hey-ho. And then after that, we got a recap of the Karaoke Showdown segment. Get that off my screen.
Mm-hmm.
It was terrible. And then we had a Lacey Evans promo. That was one line. And she just said, after tonight, Naomi's glow will be nothing but a little sparkle. And that was it.
Yeah. So the reason that they didn't have a promo at the start, I think, was because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the promo would have been Lacey Evans, Naomi is a nasty. And then Naomi comes on and goes, Lacey Evans is going to feel the glow. And that is it. That is all they would have had. So I can see why they weren't given promos, because this is such a... I just don't care about this.
Crazy idea. Maybe make people care about it. Give them something different than their one-liners that they normally have. But
I'm a Mark, Pete, and therefore I get angry. and
That's
I
true,
don't care. But
we are the world's best nitpickers.
Like there was one good thing in this match, and that was the kind of how Lacey tied. Yeah, the way it ended, the way that Lacey tied Naomi's hair around the rope, and then Naomi had to undo it, and then she just punched her in the face. But yeah, it was a few minutes, and
if that,
why should I care about this match?
Totally. And weirdly, they've been doing, fake crowd noise for the whole show. Didn't do any for this match. It's like, what? You're actively making me not care. Yeah, it makes no sense. These are two really good athletes in the ring, and they've been reduced to squabbling over karaoke. And yes, Lacey Evans did, in fact, turn heel because she lost karaoke. That's an actual heel turn that's happened now. She was super heel in this match. Like you said, she grabbed Naomi's hair and tied it around the rope, and Naomi had to untie it, and then she women's righted her straight in the face. Like
it's genuinely, it's the best heel turn in WWE in the last month. I think it's probably the only one, but it's the best.
Yeah, why not? Then after that, we got a backstage promo from Jeff Hardy, who was just saying that, fighting Sheamus is like fighting addiction, man. It's whatever, it comes at you when you least expect it, or whatever he said. Yeah. And then Sheamus comes in and bro kicks him to hell and back. Oh,
it was hilarious. It was like the camera work here was so funny because all you see is just this boot come across. Like it's so cartoony, but I really enjoyed it.
It's amazing, yeah.
Check Pete's news video later for just a screenshot of the moment that it connects. Which I had a lot of fun grabbing earlier. I was screenshotting it. Just kind of, I was having to go, play pause. There's the boot, and that was fun.
It looked like a great bro kick as well. It was very cool. Weirdly, it doesn't seem like they're fighting at Extreme Rules because Sheamus said he'll see him next week on SmackDown.
It may be a case they haven't had an opportunity to film it yet.
Yeah, which fine, whatever. Yeah. After that, we had the Bayley and Banks backstage stuff and the Nikki Cross Alexa stuff, and then finally we had the main event, which was Matt Riddle versus AJ Styles for the Intercontinental Championship, which felt like a big deal, much more of a big deal than Gulak versus Styles ever was, which I really appreciated, and I thought the match was pretty good. They both reminded each other, hey, we're really good wrestlers, which is nice. They both got some cool spots, and I quite liked the finish. Which was AJ Styles had in the calf crusher after he'd been working over Matt Riddle's leg for most of the match. Had the calf crusher in. Matt Riddle counted into the Bro Mission, which is really cool. But then Styles managed to roll up Riddle from the Bro Mission for the win, which I think was the right choice to have AJ retain right now. I think it might have been a bit too soon. I'd still like Riddle to win the IC title at some point, but I think maybe a bit more story first. I don't think he's going to win it though because he's entering a feud with Baron Bloody Corbin. I thought the match was pretty good. After the match, they had a little handshake, which was nice. I was like, AJ's doing a bit of respect, which is cool. And then Baron Corbin came out and attacked Matt Riddle, and then AJ just went, all right, and just walked away. So you're not turning face. Okay, that's nice. Then Baron Corbin hit an end of days, and that was the end of the show. I'm not a huge fan of that finish because that's building to a match that isn't on Extreme Rules, and this is the Extreme Rules Go Home show. At the time of recording, that's not a match on the Extreme Rules card. So why end the show with that? It was a bit weird. But you've
got to have Baron Corbin end the show.
Of course you do. Yeah. I mean, I understand finishing with the IC title match because it's an IC title match. And like I said, for Gulak Styles, I thought that should have been the main event. I agree that this should be the main event, but then have something at the end of it that builds to an actual Extreme Rules match rather than anything else that's involving Baron Corbin. I wasn't a huge fan of that ending, but I thought the match was good. And at least we're going to take this win. At least Corbin didn't interfere in the match. At least it wasn't a DQ finish. And at least it wasn't a distraction finish to help Styles retain. Styles won clean. Riddle still looks strong in defeat. I'll take that win, honestly. I'll take that W when I can.
Absolutely, yeah. Great match. Whatever with the finish. Corbin was always going to get involved, so I'm not going to lose sleep over it. But overall, a much better show than last week.
Oh, so much better.
But still things to improve on. But yeah, I'd say for me, SmackDown in the middle, 3 out of 5.
Same for me as well. It was a solid go-home show. Some of the angles got me interested in Extreme Rules, which is good, but it just kind of lacked that big kind of cliffhanger, big killer angle where you're like, ooh, I really want to watch Extreme Rules now. It's like, there was a couple things I was like, oh, I'm quite interested. But it wasn't like a big, like, oh my God, I want to watch Extreme Rules. So, yeah, for me, 3 out of 5 as well. But before we get out of here today, we now need to say thank you to some very special people. And those are our $25 and above pledge hammers on Patreon. If you haven't been to WrestleTalk's Patreon page yet, you should. There's a bunch of extra bonus content. It's just gone live for this month, WrestleTalk Extra, which is WCPW's Built to Destroy 2016 with Luke and Adam Blompier. Adam, of course, was there in the corner of Rampage, in the corner of Big Damo, Killian Dane in the main event. So he talks about his experiences with WCPW, what it was like for him and all that stuff. And that's available at the $5 tier and above. So it's well worth your time.
Absolutely.
But for the $25 and above tier, you get your own custom wrestling name, and it gets read out on a show just like this one. So thank you to Fug Life, Andreas Fugalister, Fuglistala.
Yeah. Wow, Pete. That was a really well run out.
I did it.
The Long Con, Josh Conley.
Woo! Thank you very much. Very nice. Have a glass of sherry, Martel J. Simmons. Sherry Martel.
Really funny. Robert Spencer. Period.
Thank you very much. Woo! Justin Credible Edelheit.
Oh, he is incredible.
Yeah.
We're going on a Brian Huntley.
That we are. Straight on the Brian Huntley. Vito Ventura, Pet Detective. Woo! Thank you very much.
Marcus, he's got a Sol Campbell. It's a football joke.
It is a football joke. Sol Campbell. Jam that James Dillon. Woo! Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. You'll never get this name right, you idiots. Matthew Zneh.
Say it properly.
Zmizewski.
The Harbinger, Doom Lion.
Oh, wonderful. And finally for this week, it's Robin Banks, Lee Roberts.
I just saw that had 2 R's in it. I was like, oh, come on.
Oh,
thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Pledge Hammers. And thank you for watching. Please press the videos that have just appeared on the screen to catch up the latest awesome WrestleTalk things and the button in the middle that make you become a Pledge Hammer on Patreon. I've been Chopper Pete Quinnell. I've been joined by Randy Andy Datson. And that was SmackDown. Bye.